You know, sometimes an entire story, a whole relationship, can just pivot on a single moment. And for this story, it all came down to a lifetime of love, of sisterhood, hanging by a thread, all because of one desperate, whispered plea.
Yeah, don't make me regret this. Those 5 words. That's what kicks off our whole story today. It's a story all about how even the tightest bonds, the ones you think are unbreakable, can just shatter when that promise of easy money comes along. So let's get into it and figure out how this all went so wrong.
All right, so to really get what happened here, we've got to start with our main character, a woman named Rukhsar Ahmed. Now, if you looked at her from the outside, you'd think she had it all figured out. The very picture of success. But, as is so often the case, behind closed doors, it was a completely different story.
I mean, on the surface, you've got Rukhsar projecting total confidence. We're talking glossy selfies, loud laughter, you know the type, the perfect Instagram life. But underneath all of that, there was this gnawing anxiety, this constant worry. Her reality was just a million miles away from the image she was working so hard to create.
And this anxiety, it wasn't just in her head. It was coming from some really heavy real-world pressures. Her dad's taxi business was collapsing. Her mom was dealing with ongoing health problems. And on top of all that, Rukhsar just could not seem to hold down a job. So you've got this mix of family pressure and what she felt was personal failure. I mean, it was the perfect storm of vulnerability. She was absolutely desperate for a way out, any kind of lifeline.
And right on cue, that lifeline appears. Or at least, it looked like a lifeline. It came in the form of a woman named Ghazala Din. Now, Ghazala didn't offer a simple job or a loan. Nope. She offered something way more powerful, way more seductive. She offered an idea that was going to completely change how Rukhsar saw herself and her place in the world.
So Ghazala slides right into this mentor role. She looks at Rukhsar's charm, her popularity, and she doesn't see personality traits. She sees assets, things you can cash in on. You have a gift, she tells her. People believe you. Use it. It was just this incredibly calculated, manipulative pitch that basically told Rukhsar to turn the trust people had in her into a tool for making money.
And this is the dark heart of the whole scheme. It's something called affinity fraud. And you gotta understand, this isn't your typical scam targeting random people. No, this is way more insidious. It preys on people from the inside of a community, a religious group, an ethnic community, you name it. It weaponizes trust. It takes a familiar face, someone you'd never suspect, and uses them to get everyone to lower their guard. That's how they make the unbelievable seem totally believable.
So now Rukhsar is armed with this brand new, really dangerous way of looking at the world. And who does she turn to first? The one person in the entire world who trusted her more than anyone else. Yeah, her first target wasn't a stranger, it was family.
Let me introduce you to Farah. And Farah was in so many ways the complete opposite of Rukhsar. She was disciplined, she was responsible, carefully, meticulously saving every single penny for her wedding. To her, Rukhsar wasn't just a cousin. They were like sisters. Farah really looked up to her, admired that confidence, and just trusted her without a second thought.
So Rukhsar asks for £3,000. Now, to some people, that might not sound like a life-shattering amount of money, but you have to understand, for Farah, it was everything. I mean, that was every coffee she skipped, every impulse buy she resisted, every ounce of her discipline, all saved up. It was literally her entire wedding fund.
And here comes the hook. The promise, a return of £12,000. Just think about that, turning $3,000 into 12. That's the crazy, seductive power of a pitch like this. For Farah, this wasn't just about greed or profit. It was the key to a dream wedding, a secure start to her new life. And it was all being offered by the cousin she trusted completely.
This is so important, right? How Rukhsar sold this. She knew Farah would be hesitant, so she had all the answers ready. She didn't frame it as a risk or a gamble. Oh no. She called it smart. She called it safe. And then, the killer blow, she called it halal. She used all the right words to tap into their shared culture, their faith, to make this scheme sound not just legitimate, but like the right thing to do. So Farah hands over her savings, and the plan is officially in motion. And for a little while, a short, really intoxicating time, it actually seemed to be working. But we all know how these things go. The foundation of a pyramid scheme is built to do one thing: crumble. Okay, so for the first month or two, everything's great. The payments come in just like clockwork. 300 pounds, right on time. You can just imagine the relief, right? For Farah, it's proof that this was a brilliant move. And for Rukhsar, well, it probably eased her guilt just a little bit. That trust between them wasn't just holding steady, it was getting stronger.
But then month 4 rolls around, and nothing. No payment. At first, the excuses sound plausible, right? Oh, it's just a bank delay, some paperwork issue. But then 1 week turns into 2, and Farah's calls start getting more and more frantic. By the time we hit month 6, that initial panic has just boiled over into pure white-hot fury.
And that's when the big confrontation happens. Farah's words just cut right to the bone. "You've ruined me." Can you imagine saying that to your sister, your best friend? It was so clear this wasn't about the money anymore. This was about a massive personal betrayal that had just torpedoed her entire future. That was it. That was the moment the trust completely shattered into a million pieces.
Look, losing the 3,000 pounds was devastating, for sure. But honestly, that was just the beginning. The real, true cost of what Rukhsar did wasn't measured in money. It was measured in the fractures, the permanent cracks it left in her family and her entire community.
Just think about it from Farah's side for a second. The damage was just catastrophic. Her wedding plans were thrown into chaos, which obviously created tension with her fiancé's family. Her relationship with Rukhsar, the woman she saw as a sister, was completely destroyed, and she was left with this deep, lasting feeling of shame and resentment, feeling like she'd been played for a fool.
And what about Rukhsar? For her, the fallout was basically social exile. You got to remember, in a community this tight-knit, your reputation is everything. Suddenly, at family gatherings, there are whispers whenever she walks into a room. The aunties are clutching their purses a little tighter. The uncles are muttering about girls with no shame. She became a walking cautionary tale, the poster child for broken trusts. And the mastermind in all of this? Ghazala? Well, when a desperate, broken Rukhsar finally confronts her, this is what she gets. You chose to play the game. Don't cry now because you don't like the rules. It's absolutely chilling, isn't it? Zero remorse, zero sympathy. Just this cold, hard reminder that, in her eyes, Rukhsar was just a pawn in the game who had played her part. Which brings us right back to where we started, with this idea of trust. What this story really shows us is that when you start treating trust like its currency, the debt you rack up from betrayal is one you can never, ever repay. It's a cost that isn't paid with money, it's paid with relationships, with your reputation, with the very fabric of a family. And that right there is a price that nobody can afford to pay.